Welcome back. We will discuss what is happening in DeFi, what's going on. We will explore together why DeFi is a paradigm shift in the financial industry as we know it today.
All right, we just had an amazing Llama party. Thank you for inviting me, and it was an honor to co-host it and be here with you and bootstrap the studio. It was amazing.
Piece of Llama history, I'd say. Congratulations to you.
Piece of Llama history. It's amazing. I wanted to take this time to do a brief debrief or an after recording of the Llama party, and I want to dig into why are we here? What are we doing? Why are we building a parallel financial system? Why it's important? What do you think?
Big questions. Okay, let's dig into the big philosophical questions. Why are we building it?
Yes.
Well, the existing system is completely broken. I think we could agree on that. So if the existing system is broken, we need to replace it with something better. I think many of us are here for that reason.
Yeah.
I think that's where Satoshi Nakamoto explicitly launched Bitcoin. Thinking that Bitcoin was a solution to some of the bailouts and the terrible monetary policies that exist within the existing financial system, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then Ethereum came along and said, on top of it, we need an application layer where we can actually build out our own decentralized, trustless protocols that can execute in a permissionless manner. Because so much of the problems we have with our existing financial system are because we rely on central intermediaries. And let's face it, they don't usually have our best interest at heart. The nature of capitalism is that we have, everyone is profit maximizing, and this has incentivized the current system to steal as much as possible from poor people.
Yeah.
And maybe protocols are trying to do this and build greedy protocols onto Ethereum. Mm-hmm. But at the very least, there's levels of transparency built in. You can read the code, you can understand who is trying to screw people, why. And over time, we've somewhat seen that within Ethereum, I would argue the protocols that are ascendant are the ones that are not so greedy. Curve is not a greedy protocol. Curve is giving back nearly all of the fees to the users. And that's why it's gotten so much success over other protocols that are more greedy. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe the protocols that are more greedy will have a advantage over Curve. But we're here to find out, and we're here to experiment and be part of this. And it's sad when we see people get wrecked, but we also know that for every 20 protocols that don't survive, one protocol does survive and builds a more fair and more trustworthy financial system. So I'd say that's why I'm here.
Yeah, and it really unplugs us from an existing matrix or an existing paradigm of hey, you have to just stay in the system and but I think as self-sovereign beings, we should be able to choose where we invest our time, where we invest our monetary energy in, and if we accumulate some power in this life, we should be able to do with it whatever we want to do with it. And I think crypto gives me and us that opportunity to get more freedom and travel around the world and still have access to capital that if you normally would be in the bank, it would be much harder to transfer things around, et cetera, et cetera. So I think that it's a rails that will just be there and will stay there. And I think it's also the reason why there is this brain drain that we talked about during also the Llama party. Hey, I see a lot of talent moving from Web 2 or other industries all going into Web 3 and wanting to understand this also, wanting to understand hey, this is really cool. This is a free space. This seems to have a good impact on the world. Let's spend our time there. And a lot of people that I see starting in the space, starting as hobbyists, including myself. I have a YouTube channel that we're now speaking on, which is completely not something I do for financial gain. It's just something I do because I'm interested in this and I want to push the space forward. I want to share knowledge. I want to share what we're building. And I think that's also the reason why you started your channel, just to get into the grounds with the right people.
I will say that my reason for starting the YouTube channel was more selfish. It was not monetary gain, but it's just because I watched myself on video and Zoom calls and realized I was terrible and I wanted to improve.
Nice.
So I literally launched it because I recognize how important video is to the kind of 21st century economy. Even if crypto disappears, the capability of speaking into a camera and not sounding like an idiot pretty important nowadays. Like you see, even here in Thailand, I've seen the power of TikTok and like how regular people just use TikTok and how it's like infiltrated people's lives. So I wanted to learn more about that system. So I deliberately wanted to like teach myself. I've gotten better at it. I'm not there yet. I still think I need that 10,000 hours. But actually back to your question of like, why are we seeing this brain drain to Web3? I worry about it a little bit because for every person like you and me that's doing it for, I'll say mine's like not a financial greedy reason. It's like a self-improvement reason, which I don't think is the greediest thing. A lot of people are here just because of the money. And that worries me.
Fine, I think. Because that's how it starts.
But it worries me.
That's what most people are driven about anything in life about money. When I talk to people at conferences, I ask them like, what is your passion? And if your passion is not connected to your work, I don't think I want to work with that person because then it mostly doesn't.
Well, that's true. I think of it like the gold rush, like back in like the 1800s. All these people like uprooted everything, moved to California because they thought there was gold in the hills, and a lot of people got wrecked that way. Like a lot of people got really badly hurt because there wasn't as much as gold as advertised. A lot of really smart people, of course, sold the picks and the shovels, and they got rich off of it. Some people did strike it rich in the gold, but we don't want to be building a gold rush system, right? Like we do want to build a superior system that allows people to actually like take part in the values we're talking about, like self-sovereignty, control over your own finances, building your own like tools like picks and shovels. And I feel much better when people are in it for those reasons. I agree that like you do want the motivations to be aligned. So that is important. Like you do want to have people who are here because they want to make money because they're going to stay passionate and engaged.
I'm also, I'm not here like that. I don't want to make money, but
I'm not here to lose money, right?
No, exactly. Of course, there's a financial element in a lot of things, but it's more like a element like, I don't want to lose money, and I just want to have that freedom of moving around my money. And I think that because I was quite early in the space, I feel like I have an obligation to keep on pressing the space forwards.
Agreed. And I do feel really encouraged by the number of people who made their riches early, could have retired. Like, you probably don't need to be here doing this. You could be traveling the world, like going to beaches. But you're here trying to make the space better. And I have noticed a lot of people from early on in the space, like made a lot of money, and they're still here because they want to pay it forward to the next generation. And that's the right energy for the space. That's what we need to encourage, right?
Yeah. But at the same time, it's very hard because it's a two-way, it's a dilemma.
Dilemma. Yeah, that's
it's a dilemma because like you want to,
ultimately it's a good thing if the space grows because greedy people flow in. What you're saying is that even if the incentives are wrong, it can build towards the correct thing.
But it's also it's a dilemma because you cannot also build a system of self-altruistic people. I think that a lot of Bitcoiners have that wrong, right? So they're like, oh, Satoshi is great, we follow Satoshi, but it's like in ETH you see that less, and in other communities you see that also less. We as humans, I think, need to lose the God syndrome and more think of like find that power within ourselves and then use that to press something forward that we believe in, and not really rely on like, I look up to Vitalik, or I look up to Satoshi, or I look up to other like really amazing people in the space. But I also want to go back to my own power and discover the things that are important to me and see the things where I can contribute to the space. And you don't want to revolve it around like a Charles Hoskinson or like around Satoshi or around Vitalik. That's not good. We need to revolve it around everybody and then just have a space where, and I actually think like with real world adoption and with all the yields we're also talking about it, I think if we create a system for, let's say 10 million people, 20 million people that just use DeFi and use it on a daily basis to have some LP pools to get in and out of fiat or to do different things, I think that in itself is already a justification enough to have yields in that system, have a parallel financial system. Like even with a small group of people, it will already work and it's fine. And that's what we see right now. We're a small group of people. I remember like in the midst of the bear market, this is like 2 months ago, it's like, I think we were saying that like the 3 people in DeFi or 10 people in DeFi, right?
Yeah, there's not as many. I like to joke about it, but there actually is a lot of people in DeFi. I'm always impressed by how big the space is. I think one of the real dilemmas I have with this concept of how do you properly incorporate greed in the space is that. So at one point I asked Alinara, you're familiar with Alinara, fantastic Llama Air Force dev.
Yes.
I was asking Alinara, how do you, what's the best way to make money in this space? And unfortunately, if you're just profit maximizing, the best way is to launch a scam.
Yeah.
And as long as we have greed in the space, we're always going to see get-rich-quick schemes.
And the scams working because people believe that they can get rich quick.
Exactly. So we keep seeing people falling for the scam. So I see it as there's two ways to get rich quick two ways to get rich in the space. You can get rich quick by scamming, or you can get rich slowly by building a positive, better financial system. And a lot of us are here because we're in that latter camp. It's probably a slower ride to build up this massive Curve ecosystem, but Curve's starting to take off. So Curve's starting to get there, but a project launched today might take 2 years, 3 years before it starts bearing fruit. How many people can wait 3 years to build it honestly versus how many can launch a scam today? You're going to see 20 scams for every one that's willing to do the long-term walk. Yeah. So that's the issue. I think what you're doing with the crypto risks team, Llama Risk, is a great way of policing the space, and we'll eventually build these antidotes to the scams. But as long as it's this open, free financial system, we're also going to continue seeing scams, and that it just hurts. I remember during the depths of the bear market when, first of all, prices were going down and everyone was suffering because their portfolios were going down, and then on top of it, you just kept seeing all these scams exposed with SBF and the Three Arrows Capital and Do Kwon. It hurt a little bit to be why am I doing this? Why am I trying to build this space when all we're doing is seeing all these scammers come in and everyone losing all this money and crying, and it was too much.
It felt like people were taking the work that I did for free to make a better space, just sucking that out and just sucking all that energy out for themselves.
Exactly. It's draining. It was draining. So I'm glad that we're seeing these things mature. Yeah. And I'm glad we're starting to see more and more good infrastructure will get built, and we will see the scams disappear. And I still remain very optimistic. But
yeah, me too. I think we need a more overall risk board or something.
We do. I think that a risk board would solve a lot of this because people have a lot of questions, and the education in the space remains lacking, and there's not enough.
A risk board or a filtered products because I see too many people, especially here in Thailand, and especially people that I have $1,000 or I have $10,000. They don't have the really big amounts of money. They just want to get into a simple product and use it, right? And they then go for the 1,000% ohm yield or something. And I'm just wow. One, I'm very proud of these people that they then figure out some way how to use MetaMask and how to do all that. But they do get to the 1,000% yield. It's
they do. Ohm is it has its own thing because Ohm was intentionally. It was just high emissions is what it was. But I feel like at the end of the day, what we've learned, unfortunately, with DeFi is whoever promises the most ridiculous yield gets the money. And it doesn't even matter if the yield can be completely imaginary in a lot of cases. But if you offer 1,000% and you offer 10,000%. 10,000% is going to win. So, and we might be entering a new bull market and might be going through yet another cycle. And I hope people stay away from the 10,000% yields.
Yeah, and instead of having the SEC with fucking weird fucking vlogging videos by Gary Gensler, it's insanity.
SEC is trash. SEC needs to be disbanded.
Yeah, so Gary Gensler making hey, protect you from making weird videos. It makes no sense. So I hope we're gonna have more grassroots risk boards, risk DAOs, Llama risk teams, those things coming up and consolidating in a healthy kind of approval stance. What you said also in the thing is hey, a whitelisting at Curve actually means something now.
Now it does. And that's because of you. That's because of you and the work that you and the Llama Risk team were doing.
Yeah, and I think that will happen more. So it will go good. The quality will rise, and there will be a small collective risk boards, risk teams on top that will manage filter out all the bullshit, and we'll also be more. We can. And I think as an industry, we can be more aggressive against scammers.
And
like what happened. Yeah.
What's amazing is you mentioned the SEC, and if we were sitting here brainstorming from scratch how to build an SEC, it would look nothing like the current SEC.
No.
It would look much more like the Llama Risks team. And it would be just this team of people educating, doing audits, doing reports. Instead, we have this mafia-like SEC, which just looks for the biggest fish and tries to extract their cut.
Gets bribes.
Gets their bribes, and it's like the worst possible
They call
system.
it no bribes, but
worst possible system you can imagine. And I really do believe that if you and the Llama Risks team and other entities build up the SEC that we'd like to see from the ground up, eventually we're going to see good governance come in and try and like co-opt what you're doing. Like the Zach XBT is the person I bring up a lot. If he was commissioner of the SEC, can you imagine how many scams would actually have been prevented? Can you imagine how many millions or billions of dollars would have actually been saved instead of the system we have now that was almost looking to rubber stamp FTX right before they went to
insanity. So the thing is that I don't want to be like in that thing. I don't want to be a new Rothschild. I don't want to found a new like family or things like that will determine all those things. I think we need to mathematically code in smart contracts certain rules that even if within something becomes corrupted, it always sinks back to the core. It's a little bit like the Constitution, but then for a new financial system. And I think that needs to be created. And I'm not sure how that will look. Well, I think we will be able to create something like that.
I mean, I think we're starting to see it. Curve, one of the reasons I really like it is they've got the most active DAO that I've ever seen.
Yes.
All these companies and protocols try and get their DAOs going, and it's still very centralized. But Curve has actually taken this step, actually gets the gauge votes incentivized. People are voting. People are participating. Convex has a second layer that has passed through seamlessly. It's beautiful to watch. Now, whether like if you're Stake DAO or you're Urine and you see Convex sitting there with like very hefty influence, like maybe they have some quibbles over the system and want it to be better, but they're also working to participate in the Curve wars, and you're seeing this play out on chain, and it's been phenomenal to watch from my perspective.
Yeah, it's a step-by-step process, right? So we will not overnight build the better system, but step by step we will create a system that is a little bit better, and then we need to create it like agile and flexible so that it just can grow into a better system and evolve also in a system that just kind of serves its users instead of serving a small select group of like families that are controlling the world right now, or
right.
And it's not even. And I think the funny thing is, I don't believe in a global cabal that rules the world. I think it's a super unorganized, just people with financial incentives that are just trying to maximize their financial incentives. It's a very human thing to do. So.
You've worked at the banks, like I went to business school. Like we've all interacted with these people who are the like so-called like wealthy elites. Know they're not any different from any of us.
No,
like,
exactly. They're just maximizing.
They go to sleep and they have the same problems. Like I guarantee you, Klaus Schwab is sitting there saying like, "How come no one listens to me? How come my influence? Like I want to try and influence these things and he can't get it done." Exactly. Everyone's trying. Like I see this all as like we all have like whatever megaphone we have. We're all shouting as loud as we can. Government has a bigger megaphone than all of us, but they're still like saying, how come we can't influence things like we used to? Like everyone is actually like trying to influence these things and keeps running these same barriers. So now that being said, like I still prefer the actors who are emerging from the crypto ecosystem because like at the very least they're having to build it on this more transparent foundation. They're having to build it in ways that nominally or like actually are decentralized.
And the funny thing is, the only reason why this all works is because we have a very root and very skeptical community that is like, even anything you put out there, like on Discord and stuff, like it's insane how fast people find things. Like, you put something out there, like also in the risk team, like some data, so like people will find a lot of really weird things that you wouldn't imagine, like some multi-sig signers or things like that, or who's this, who's behind that, who's behind this, who's behind so. And if you have 1,000 people, you can already do much more. Like instead of like walled gardening an SEC thing, like, oh, you need to be a commissioner in order to say an input here. Everybody can give input, and I think that's the beauty of the space.
I heard it said that Bitcoin is for haters, and one of the things that amazes me about how Bitcoin got off the ground is it took all these competing people because finance is a brutal, cutthroat game. It took all these people who are out to cut each other's throats and united them under one system, and showed that even the most savage, most vicious actors can all be united under one set of rules. Now, of course, it got forked, and some people fell out that way in trying to get too greedy, but it worked. And we see the same with DeFi protocols. Like, everyone is trying to kill everyone else in some ways, and we still, through this competition, end up with this better system.
And that's how we always also will outcompete incumbents. Incumbents are still working on the CBDCs. They're going to have pilots of CBDCs. They're going to release something that's completely broken, will be hacked, will crash, will not work. The apps will crash. The apps will clearly have backdoors. Like, it's going to be, like, I even worked with WeChat. WeChat is such a weird, like, it's an old JavaScript version, and they have WeChat wallets. It looks good, but there's a lot of problems. And I think we can do 10 times better as an open community, All right, guys. So this was amazing. It was an amazing Llama party, and this is like a small little roundup from that. And I want to thank everybody for watching, and I want to encourage everybody to go to CurveCap, subscribe to the amazing Substack, and to the amazing YouTube channel. Go to my YouTube, subscribe and like, and I hope we can make the space a little better by all our crazy thoughts and inputs and amazing ideas.
Sawadee krap.